Yo, what's going on, guys? Jared here. Today I'm going to be giving you a little bit of a discussion, deck profile, and one card combo all on the new structure deck, the Crimson King. Not a lot of people are talking about this, but it comes out in a couple days. But this structure deck has a lot of interesting cards and a lot of concepts in here that I think could be used in other decks as well. But for now, I'm going to keep this as a pure version of the deck. So yeah, we'll just go ahead and jump right into it. And if you enjoy this content, please subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. So like I said, the Crimson King structure deck comes out in about 2 days roughly. And we have not seen a lot of people talk about this deck because of the cards inside and not a lot of like general interruptions. But because with the conclusion of YCS Cancun, we are able to see, and of course with the new ban list as well, we are able to see that the format seems to be going in a more mid-range direction with things like Unchained, Flunderies winning the event, and decks like that are not just like a blowout deck, but more a lot of back and forth. Yu-Gi-Oh seems to be coming, at least for the most part, besides the obvious blowout cards like Dimensional Barrier and stuff like that. But so a deck like this can really shine because this deck, its main issue, I should say, was that it could not produce a big board. It would be a big board, but it wouldn't be a lot of negates, right? It wouldn't be a lot, but it can do a lot with one card. I'm going to show you what I mean in a second with the one card combo. But going into the deck profile itself, this is what I have built currently. Again, this is a very like cleaned up, nice and neat version of the deck. I like it so far. Of course, there could be changes. Anything could be changed. This deck can be budget. You can definitely change around a few cards here if you like to make a budget. If you want to cut things like Pot of Prosperity and the D-Spotters, you can switch it around. Obviously, the side deck is up to you, but obviously talents, the thrusters need to be here. Excuse me. So yeah, so you could switch around some of the ratios, maybe play 3 of some of the Archfiends, the Hot Reds, and things like that, and maybe you can play something like Extravagance or Desires, because everything here is also a 3 of 2. You don't really need like every single card in here, so these pot cards can definitely be replaced. Now, on top of that, you also have a lot of room for non-engine in a pure version of this deck. As you can see, we have the pot cards, Call by the Grave, Foolish Burial. I put this Armageddon Knight in here because it's also level 4 that can pretty much double as Bow and Archfiend. You also have the hand traps, plenty of them to be able to play. Currently, right now, I have 12 in here. You can definitely increase or decrease this number depending on how the format goes and what non-engine ends up being playable. But all of the one card starters are pretty much Bow and Archfiend. Bow and Archfiend, Armageddon Knight with the Bow and Archfiend can also be a one card starter. Soul Resonator is a one card starter. Crimson Gaia and Resonator Call. All of those cards are in a form, one shape or another, one card combo. I will get to that later, but for now, that is like the main thing that you need to know. So this is Synchron Resonator. This is a good add back. A card that is not in the structure deck that if you plan on playing this, you definitely should own. It is an old common. It is called Obsessive Oovaloop. This card is not in the structure deck, but if you plan on playing this deck, you should own at least one copy of this card. I really cannot stress that enough. I don't know why this is in the structure deck, but it's not. It is a old common where it says if this card is in your hand, you can target a synchro monster you control or in your graveyard, banish it and special summon it. And if it's in the graveyard, you can target a synchro monster you control or in the graveyard, banish it. And if you do, add this to your hand, and you can use each effect once per turn. So the reason this is good is because, one, this makes your Bestial Dispotter live immediately. If you're playing this card, of course, I feel like you should. Even if you don't pick up Prosperities, you actually could probably still make this work, the Dispotter work regardless. But anyway, Dispotter I think is really good with the Oovaloop. If you have enough resources to go for both the Oovaloop and the normal combo, you can end on Dispotter and the Hot Red. But yeah, having this available is really strong. Secondly, Red Zone I think is the best Red Dragon Archfiend trap card that comes in the structure deck. There is another one. I'll show you guys now. The Fiendish Golem. I am personally not a fan of this card. Targeting amounts of 2,000 or more attack and pretty much using it as a Farfa is not that great in my opinion. I'm definitely not playing Fiendish Chain in my deck in 2023. So for now, I am not a fan of this. I prefer this. And I would have to do a little bit more setup, but this card is both recursion and interruption in one card, and it's a continuous that's going to sit there the entire time. So I think this card is very strong, especially in a drawn out game state. Yeah, so the one card combo I'm going to show you is the Soul Resonator combo. But again, there are different forms of the combo with the Soul Resonator, Bone Archfiend, Crimson Gaia, and Resonator Call. They all do similar end boards. Going into the extra deck, we have one copy of Buster Dragon that I put in here. So this is actually mostly to counteract a lot of the like certain decks, because Buster Dragon is a Dark Dragon Synchro, so it goes under the restrictions of all of the Red Dragon Archfiend cards, and at the same time, it makes all of your opponent's monsters become Dragon. That is very, very good against something like Unchained. They cannot make Yama, so that's very important. Again, something like Salman Great, which just got cards off the list, they cannot go into something like Banelinks, stuff like that. So this is just another little anti-meta card that you can make against some matchups. Right now I have 2 copies of Dispotter because the Dark Dragon Synchro pool is very small. So for now it's 2 Dispotter, 2 Hot Red, 1 copy of Bane, 1 copy of King Calamity, 1 of the TCG exclusives, Koi Belt, the Blade Dragon. Doesn't come up a lot, but he's in here just as the option. 2 Red Dragon Archfiend, the original, 2 Red Rising Dragon, 2 Scar Red Dragon Archfiend, and 1 Tyrant Red Dragon Archfiend. This is like one of those decks that has gotten so many support cards over it has to be 10 years by this point, and a very select few of them are good. So now we are able to actually use some of them in the current format. One thing I want to mention before I get into the combo, just as a card that I'm not playing in the main deck right now, but could be played, is Burning Soul. So this pretty much acts as a way to synchro summon on your opponent's turn. So this is good because you can use this. This deck sets up a lot of the dragons very easily and tuners very, very easily. So you're able to make big synchros. But the problem is all the synchros are not that good. But there is one that you want to be able to summon your opponent's turn, and we all know that this is a Red Dragon Archfiend card, Hot Red Dragon King Calamity. And this deck can set this up with the 1-card combo. So if you have a 1-card combo with the Burning Soul, you almost have an FTK essentially, because you just flip this up as soon as your opponent in their draw phase, and you synchro for summon for Calamity, and they just can't play, so it doesn't even matter. But there is actually no way to search this card, believe it or not. If this card mentioned Red Dragon Archfiend in the text, you would be able to guarantee it. But because it does not mention Red Dragon Archfiend in the text, it cannot guarantee it, thank God, because it would be insane. Alright, so that is it for the deck profile itself. Now moving on to the 1-card combo. So pretty much the 1-card combo consists of just Soul Resonator. Like I said, this is the one I'm going to show you, but there's other ways to do it. So pretty much you can almost summon Soul Resonator, add the Bone Archfiend because it adds a level 4 lower fiend from deck to hand. Again, this is a very generic thing. There are other decks you can mix this with and be able to get accrue some kind of advantage. I know people were playing this with Labyrinth because this can add all the Labyrinth cards. And Labyrinth doesn't really care about extra deck too much, so this is just, it's another option that I feel like should be mentioned. Now you can use Bone Archfiend by sending another card. Something about Bone Archfiend that I wanted to mention as well. Bone Archfiend is a card that comes back from the graveyard, but does not banish itself. So once you get 1 Bone Archfiend going, the longer the game goes on, it is always available to you. You can keep recurring it and bringing it back, and it can be very, very annoying for some opponents to deal with. So just something to keep in mind. I think this card, these 2 cards in a vacuum, are just also very, very good, not even just in its pure build deck. These are definitely cards that you can mix and match them with other stuff. Now you can use Bone Archfiend to send a Fiend Tuner from your deck to your graveyard to decrease or increase a level. So we're going to decrease the Soul Resonator to 2, and now we can synchro summon for a level 6. That's going to be our Red Rising Dragon. When it's synchroed, you can bring back a Resonator from the graveyard, so we're going to send back the Crimson that we just sent. And what this does is if you can target a Dark Dragon Synchro you control and special summon 2 Resonator monsters from your deck. That is literally it. So it is just free. So as you can see, we summon Vision Resonator and Synchron Resonator. This searches when it's sent to the graveyard. This adds back when it's used as sacred material. So now we can use the Vision and the Red Rising to go into the Scar Red Dragon Archfiend. This is one of the coolest cards I think I've ever read. It's very weird because we don't have not a lot of cards that kind of work in the way this does. So this card's always Red Dragon Archfiend while in the field or grave. If it's sent to the monster zone to the graveyard, you can special a Red Dragon Archfiend from your extra deck, and it's treated as a synchro summon. Then, if it was sent to the graveyard as a synchro material for a Dark Dragon Synchro, which it pretty much always will be, you can destroy all your opponent's attack position monsters. So this is a card that is both going good to give you extra non-tuner bodies, as well as going second to be able to clear boards, depending on what your opponent has, of course. But yeah, so this is something to keep in mind, and this is a very, very cool and unique card. That's why you have to play multiple of the original Red Dragon Archfiend. So yeah, now since we synchroed with the Vision Resonator, that is going to search our Crimson Gaia, and then we are immediately going to activate Crimson Gaia to search our red zone. So now we have our trap card live. From here, we're able to synchro with the Scar Red Dragon Archfiend and the Synchron Resonator to go into Hot Red. Now the Scar Red will summon the original Red Dragon Archfiend from the extra deck, and yeah, so this is pretty much going to be our end board, and we get our starter back. So for literally 1.5 cards, I guess we'll say, like any card to discard, Soul Resonator gets itself back, as well as being a negate, and this is going to be a pop. Yeah, and then you also have Recursion for this on the following turn as well. And it's also going to make your Bestial Dispotter live as well, and you have the Bone Archfiend already live in here again as well. Now, there are some caveats to this. When I'm saying that is, if let's say you use something like a pot card earlier, you can synchro into this Bestial Dispotter here and use that as an interruption as well, rather than just be leaving this face up on the field. But yeah, that is pretty much going to be it for the one card combo. Again, you have a pop, a lot of recursion here, and there's a lot of, for one card, this is very, very strong and wide. Again, this wasn't going to be the strongest thing for the format we were currently in, but because with the hit 2 Kashtira, with the mid-range popularity coming out, and the deck's capability to be able to do one card combos with a lot of hand traps in the main deck, I see no reason why a deck like this shouldn't be able to perform at least decently going into the next meta. Do I think it's going to be the best deck in the world? Probably not. But do I think it's going to be at least be a tier 2 deck? I don't see why it wouldn't be. I think it has all the right components to do something of that nature. So overall, I hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile and combo. There's definitely more this deck can do, like I said, between mixing and matching and other combos and stuff like that. So yeah, this deck has a lot of potential, and I think it can really go somewhere maybe in the future, depending on future card releases, essentially. So again, overall, hope you guys enjoyed. Please subscribe if you did, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.